so much for
Hi, my
coming.
name's Lee. I'm a resident bookworm here in Brooklyn. This is my first year at the Brooklyn Book Festival. Very exciting. And yeah, I stumbled across this delightful tale. I am a writer myself, so it really jumped out at me. And I'm going to read you a piece from it. To James L. Horton from Derek Halfman. Dear James, thank you for sending your paragraph. I have no problems with this as an opening, but I am forwarding it to those who can best advise me on ministerial and legal matters. There may be a delay of several months. Yours, Derek.
This is the Brooklyn that children in Montana are named for. A brownstone empire of skinny jeans and single-origin coffees. Here, in this mostly peaceable kingdom of community gardens and farm-to-table charcuteries, you'll find warehouses of industrial charm, where beef-funnelled lesbians offer weekend workshops in beekeeping and database architecture. Here are the cozy neighborhood bars where trust fund kids and unemployed novelists gather to seek solace and companionship. Solace, excuse me. I need another take. I saw the solace. Solace and companionship, drowning their sorrows with small batch IPAs and Prohibition-era cocktails. Here, the verdant, tree-lined streets of cafes and church steeples, where angry, bearded cyclists rampage through clusterfucks of bugaboo strollers and tattooed yoga mommies.
Well done. Bravo.
Hi, my name's Molly, and this is Shelf. Do you remember the garden square in which we slept one day in June? When we woke in the dusk, my mouth was sure of itself. It knew the melody which the wood pigeon cooed. In the way which pollen drugs with its spread, we headed out the world before us, into the city's twilight, into a nameless history.
I'm going to read a passage from My Life of Crime from Tyler Gore. When I first moved to New York, some 15 years ago, I rented a tiny cockroach-infested studio on Clinton Street, on the Lower East Side, and I loved it. Living on Clinton Street was like living in a foreign country. Nearly everyone who lived there was Puerto Rican or Dominican, and all the store signs were in Spanish. There were only 3 sorts of businesses on Clinton Street: bakeries, bridal shop, and heroin dealers. These last operated out of storefronts, half-heartedly stocked with laundry detergent and dusty old cans of Alpo. The mysterious 3-sided economy made the neighborhood seem even more exotic.
Well done.
Woo! I'm Stephanie, and I'll be reading from Wings. Face. Silently, a cool breeze strokes my skin. The light of dawn lies gently on the leaves. A world slowly is opening its limbs. Everywhere my face reveals itself again.
The balloonist. There once was a man who lived in a country of a kingdom that no longer exists. At the center of the county was a castle, which was ruined several centuries before the man was born. The man was a painter and also an astronomer, photographer, enjoyer of women, collector of weapons, traveler of continents. His thirst was for the world. It was a thirst that was unquenchable by land or by sea. One day the man went up in a balloon, an envelope of air like a missive to the heavens. No one has seen such a thing in the kingdom. High above earth in his opulent basket he waved in exultation, in exhilaration, and farewell. Gravity, of course, is inescapable. In time, the man exhausted his fortune. Rather than be grounded, he shot himself to death. The remains of the castle, which now belongs to another country, continues to be a tourist destination.
This is from verse 209 of the support verses. Don't forget, as you rush to the tasting, better to meditate than be hasty. Trap chasing pleasure and salivating, you will wish you spent more time meditating.
Yeah. So this is a poem called A Gap, where things and people once had been. This museum object label, called by curators Tombstone, fails to list dust and color-dulling sun among the artist's materials. We hazarded a guess at price at auction but grew distracted, estimating gallons per second evaporating in Amazon's basin. Maybe we'll redefine light years, calculating square inches of skin, darkened, then lit so many days, then dividing by all eternity. Will it help or hurt believing air, a kind of flab we wallow through? Fleeing suffering, we flee everything. Water, tainted with prescription and illicit drugs. Shadows cast across asphalt by Earlin litter, divining how we'll die. Merlot and pineapple sunset, wood grains and wood smoke ripples, waves with grit in them. Likely, we'll never hear the ruffle and flutter of paparazzi shutters. Us, the aperture objects, gate number something or other, lacks or pecks or elsewhere, in distance of earliest existence. Our origins elements linger, river and brick, stream and stick, two straight, bright ideas. Fine print stipulates rain one day, pinpoints us, X to Y, coordinates toward which so much descends.
We're going? Hi, my name is AP. I'm here as a writer. I'm just kind of scouting around and seeing what different publishers have, and this one caught my eye. I'm going to be reading out of Boundless as the Sky by Raffel. And the passage goes, "The old folks would die on the desolate peak, dreaming of long lost and frankly mostly fictional youth. But this could not be helped. Oxygen was plentiful for everyone who chose to reside in the underwater city, embracing the future, partaking at the newly constructed municipal tanks. Soon, there were experts in aqueous disruption and smart new metrics for business and life. In just a short while, we were told we would develop new muscles, new skills, new habits of breathing. The children, of course, would be first to adapt. Every generation would continue to improve until their skin grew slick, until the blood grew cold, until the tanks were obsolete. The old ways would be completely forgotten. No one would recall what the city stood on, when the city stood on land, when words clung to paper, when birds might be heard from afar."
This is Reset. One thing I've seen people do in America when they have to make a decision is a nice list with all the pros and cons. In reality, people usually already know what they want to do, and the list is just an excuse to justify what they will come up with. I had seen Karen do it too. She had studied in America. I could make a list in which I write down what I was doing before and what I'm doing now, just to make a comparison. I grab the computer and start writing.
The page I'm reading is page 87 from Boundless as the Sky by Raffel. Fell? Raffel. Junket, or clapping for grain shot straight out of guns to make cereal for breakfast, not the sludgy porridge they were raised on. Automated magic. There is even a robot that can smoke a cigarette. Even better, in his sister's opinion, are the miniature babies in ovens if they have enough quarters to see them again. And here, he feels shame about what he has done. Greta, the youngest, lives for the paintings in the art exhibition, and she will point out that seeing them is free with the general admission, and maybe the others will indulge her, or not. Elsie will long for the Venetian glass that catches the light in every color, next door to the Italian pavilion, which is going to be packed and passable. Not one of his sisters cares about the airborne armada, as best he can tell. For history is happening, and later they can say they had seen it. 24 seaplanes arriving, information. Really, unless you are a pilot or Italian, how much does this matter? It doesn't to him. His passion is music. Flights of angels, a language any ear can understand, can receive at any time. Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, Liszt, Brahms, Chopin. Beethoven, Wagner, a universe floating on a note, a world conjured with your fingers, even on the shabby old piano his mother had inherited, that poor wretched instrument of wood and warped fibers, the tusks of hunted elephants, the keys with which to enter the divine. His passion is Desi. Where is she?
This is from Boundless as the Sky by Raffel. It's from a novella. Well, the fire. The intimacy is what she craves. Her head tipped back, her throat open, the torch, the tongue of an incendiary lover. Night after night, the world arrives anew. She is claimed by the spectacle of fire as a child, by a vision of a sideshow performer from long, long ago.
My name is Katie McCarthy, and I sell used books in Staten Island at a store called Everything Goes Book Cafe near the ferry. And I'm here today because I love books and I love to meet book people. And I've been here before, and it's always a pleasure. And that's my reason. The weather's great. Okay, so this is the book I'm reading from.
Would you like to sign it?
Yes, of course.
It's about a number of different women, and it's always interesting to me to read about lives of interesting people. So the chapter is Mary McCarthy performs Mary McCarthy. Fact: Mary McCarthy was born in Seattle in 1912. Fact: a lifelong smoker, she died of lung cancer in New York at age 77. Fact: at age 6, she lost her parents, both victims of the 1918 flu epidemic. Raised thereafter by relatives, the first set of substitute guardians making short work of destroying what previously had been an idyllic childhood, Mary McCarthy quick learned to take care of Mary. In the process, she became a determined, ambitious, acerbic, scrappy combatant who relished attention and prided herself on rising to a challenge. A woman who, refreshingly, neither disguised nor distrusted her own formidable intellect and tough nut will. An eviscerating, provocative critic, reporter, best-selling novelist, and 3-time memoirist. 2 of those memoirs composed in the last decade of her life.
Hi, I'm Jim Hannes, and this is from Boundless as the Sky. 3. Burning Bush. God may have chosen to appear here, although scholars disagree as to whether the bush was in fact a bush, or the bush was merely brambles, or alternatively whether the bush was Mount Sinai itself, as well as whether the fire was flame, or whether the fire was pure light, as well as whose voice it was that Moses claimed to have heard. Regardless of such ongoing discordances, the discerning homeowner seeking to create a pop of color on his property does well to cultivate his own burning bush, Unanimous elatus. This sturdy crimson plant will thrive in many types of soil, requiring a minimum care and offering visual pleasure for many generations to come.
In our pell-mell consumerist hellscape, the things designed to give us pleasure often cause us the most pain. Take the billboard, for example. Stock still in a honking morass of hatchbacks and motorhomes. We observe the actress Kate Winslet in a rare state of dress, peddling perfume with her slap cake massage and strawberry tresses playfully blown at work. The advert sells the promise of pleasure, the lure of romance, or sexual congress to the nasal means of chemical chicanery. At the same time, the poised pout of this A-lister using her status to swipe a minor fortune by featuring her face, as we honk ourselves through clots of black smoke, to rooms with clapboard, IKEA jars, and twats plants of bitter seed. We envy her beauty, wealth, power, and status. We resent the implication that our proletarian officers require an overpriced squirt to make us sanguine human beings. The outcome, pure pain.
Hi, I'm Jean Gazes. I'm at the Brooklyn Book Festival, freelance editor, and I'm going to read a piece from The Support Verses by Christopher Carter Sanderson. It's a new translation of some Buddhist scripture, I guess you'd call it. I'm reading from the Elephantine stanza, which is great. My mind used to wander off all the time. Now it is disciplined like a happy elephant, good and gentle trainer.
Yay!
Vega Pina. The double name belonged to newlyweds in Koval near Kiev in Tsarist Russia. They were cousins of my mother, one from each side of her family. They were modern Jewish socialists, idealists like Tolstoy, who supported the uprising of 1905 with fiery speeches, but they meant no harm to anyone.
Hi, I'm Carlos Picharo. I'm here at the Brooklyn Book Festival with Sagging Meniscus Press. I'm going to read a little bit from Don't Look at Me by Charles Holdefer. Have you ever had a standing O? He leaned in. She took a sip of wine. Now that they'd almost finished their second bottle, she saw him in a different light. She almost trusted him. It had been a surprise when Philip Post invited her to dinner, and, in spite of his reputation, a part of Polly was pleased. Philip was undeniably handsome. His ruffled hair, his accent, the crisp British inflections, his attentive manners all contributed to his seductiveness, and he surely knew it. The overall effect was such that it was sometimes easy to forget what Philip was actually saying. Polly's mind had wandered just seconds ago. He'd asked her a question, hadn't he? My, this was too much wine. She'd been thinking, I could tell him about the letters. Yes, I could. She wanted to impress him.
The penultimate city. Everything living and dead, solid and conjured, fruitful and not, has been wired together, within and without, the spectacular city and a feet of water made it. Socket and plug, tunnel and lock, wine-dark sea and crenellated tower, spray, wave, salt, root, sailor, baker, mother, lover, resin and sparkle. The apple and the hand are inextricably connected, right with intention. Scented creatures of every disposition may be summoned or created or unmade by the sound of a voice, by the blink of an eye, by the flip of a switch, by an indolent sneeze, by the tap of a richly bejeweled toe, by a fleeting desire. Pieces of the past, such as love affairs or floods or conversations, may be simply reconstructed or exchanged. Wars may be waged in reverse, the future recomposed. The weather may be simulated. Bodies may decay and be replaced, in whole or in part, or reconceived or discarded. Aqueous, avian, earthbound, celestial. Rain will continue to fall on the penultimate city. Light will continue to runnel through the cracks of its engineered streets, the crumbled ruins of its walls, the sound of the sea, and even the stones are made to breathe.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gia, and I'm here to visit the Brooklyn Festival to see all these beautiful artists and their books. And I'm going to read a passage out of Lake of Urine by Guillermo. And I'm just going to pick a random page. Okay, page 80, the attic. Nobody here, nobody ever comes up here these days. There's only a dance of dust in the single shaft of light, bright and bobbling, that reaches the middle of the floor on the light diagonal. It catches the corner of a pile of old papers before touching down on the boards in an ellipse that reaches down an old bicycle, propped against the back wall. Black and bulky, no more give in the slender wheels, no comfort in the hard saddle, then it never had been comfortable. It would creak and complain under the weight of Charles Wakeling each Sunday, a long, thin stick of a man, as he pedaled over unlikely cycling terrain to tiny village for scripture meetings. It would creak and complain under his weight as he cycled on, protesting each protruding stone and muddy dip, quietening down a while when left leaning beneath the window of Sarah 12's pantry, where the pastor would pass each Sunday afternoon praying for a redemption. He was not well known in the county, being a private individual and having arrived from other parts in his midlife, but as a churchman he was shown respect. The horses up above the framing place had barely emptied itself of the previous pastor's wake attendees when he took it and installed a housekeeper by the name of Fenolia Quigg. Nobody knew her either.
Yeah. My name is Christopher Carter Sanderson, and I will be reading from this extraordinary book, My Life of Crime, by Tyler C. Gore. It's brilliant. Got to get a copy. Come on down to Brooklyn Book Fair right now and get a copy. All right, here's my reading. This is from page 156. The next day, I began exploring the world of stool softeners. My post-op instructions permitted the use of Colace, which so far was literally not doing shit. I turned on my computer, search term, constipation. Soon I had compiled a long list of popular remedies, various powders, pills, and applications. In loose sweatpants and an overcoat, I waddled out of my apartment to the pharmacy across the street and stocked up. On the way back, I stopped at the corner store to purchase a bottle of prune juice. Oh, you also sell actual prunes? Yeah, let me get some of those too. Get it, it's awesome.